Cramped and Bloating in Las Vegas by R.H. Hendry. Copyright 2017. Narrated by R.H. Hendry. Copyright 2020. Chapter 3. A Fresh New Hell. I could barely hear something. It sounded like rumbling and scratching, as if something was trapped. I was coming out of a deep, dark sleep that made me think I might have been dead for days. One eye opened, and I looked around for something that might match the sound, but nothing came into view. Both eyes open now. I sat up on the faux cowskin sofa and deeply inhaled the outgassing from the blood-red carpet. I could hear the sounds better. They were coming from a closet by the wet bar. All around the room were empty smart water bottles and spent packages of emergency that told me that I'd been out for a few hours and my therapist had been on a roll. I moved to the closet and was reaching for the handle when Ernesto appeared out of nowhere. "No, don't open that fucking door," he yelled and moved like a small beast over uneven ground, closing on me in a hot minute. "What the hell do you have in there?" I asked. "I got one," he said. His eyes were full and red and filled with the sort of rage that only massive intake of single amino acids could induce. I tried to remain calm. "Have you been taking andros or some type of rip fuel?" I inquired. "Don't fucking start with me about your Puritan horseshit," he barked, which of course meant yes. "The benefits of stacking and branched chain uptake have long been proven by the world of sports nutrition." He finished with his hand tightening on the closet doorknob. "I don't remember buying any of that shit," I stated. And on another note, what's behind this fucking door? "You're a snob, that's what you are. Ah, I could crush you with one nut," he screamed. He was out of control. I reached behind me to the small table on the window and grabbed the big crystal ashtray. With one mighty swing, I hit his collarbone and he went down like a cheerleader on ecstasy. He hit his head on the corner of the wet bar and was out like a light. I opened the door, and in the corner of the closet was a woman with a name tag that said Asia on it, and below, her name, Kraft Foods CEO. She was tied up and gagged. Good God, Ernesto had kidnapped the CEO of Kraft Foods and tied her up in our closet. She looked at me, squinting as her eyes adjusted to the light. She screamed and seemed to mumble, "Help me." I quickly did the only thing I could do. I shut the door and locked it. This was not my shit. This was Ernesto's, and he would have to deal with it when he woke up. I moved to the closest phone and called the front desk. "Hello, this is Mr. Blackhor. I need a bellhop and my car ready. I'm checking out." Sir, you're paid in for 4 days, and, your lover said you were sick and not to be disturbed." "My lover?" I yelled into the phone. "Ernesto is my therapist, and I am fine. Send up the bellhop and get my car." I slammed down the phone. God knows what other shit he'd been up to in the last 6 hours. I needed to get out of this hotel, and somewhere safe. 20 minutes later, I was pulling onto the Las Vegas Strip. I headed for the Marco Polo Hotel. It was a dive on the new strip that smelled like stale gin and sorrow. I checked in under my editor's name and locked myself in my suite. It was the presidential suite, which was 3 rooms and a bathroom with a heart-shaped tub and a bed that looked like an erect cock. I downed all the St. John's wort I had and took 5 big huffs of the O2. I stumbled back onto the bed and passed out again. I woke to the ringing phone and a clock that said 7 p.m. "Hello? Kent, my man, how the hell are ya?" It was Ernesto. How did you get this number? "I trust you slept well. We were hoping to meet up with you for a show and maybe some late supper." "We? Who the fuck is we?" I snapped. "Me and the little lady, my new wife. I think you met her at the old room at the MGM." "Your wife? You mean the CEO hostage of Kraft Foods?" "Well, we did have a rocky start, but we're all better now. Right, honey?" In the background, I could hear a woman laughing and saying yes. "We're in the lobby and we're coming up, okay?" He said, and he hung up before I could answer. What strange kind of black magic could have befalled this poor helpless soul to wind up married to Ernesto? I mixed up a 5-shot B12 and ginseng cocktail as the doorbell rang. What new hell is this, I thought, as I made my way to the door. When I opened the door, it was a horror show. Ernesto was draped in a pure white Elvis jumpsuit adorned with every rhinestone that had ever been made. He smelled like Brute aftershave and GNC muscle milk. His hair was slicked back. He had a pair of dark sunglasses with rhinestones and gold stars on the rims. His bride was dressed in nothing but a thong and a midriff t-shirt that said, "I love El Vegas" on it. Her hair was in a beehive, and her rolls of fat glimmered and glistened with sweat and glitter. I was speechless. "Hey there, buddy," Ernesto almost sang. "I'd like you to meet Mrs. Ernesto Blackor," he said with a smile as she reached out a chubby white hand to shake. I could see that while she was in control of her motor skills, she had a glazed look in her eyes that told me Ernesto had given her something really strong. "Hello," I said. "I think we've met before, but we weren't introduced." I let go of her hand, and it fell to her side and made a thud sound. I turned to Ernesto and said, "Can I have a word with you in private?" He propped the missus up on the door jamb and followed me into the suite. "What the hell have you done to this woman?" I tried to remain calm. "It's love, baby," he snapped in an Elvis voice. "Well, that'll come as some surprise to your wife in L.A. God damn it, man. Tell me the truth for once in your fucking life." All right, shit. Keep it down. I slipped her a little cocktail I invented called GABA Mag," he said with some pride. "I've taken GABA before. I've never married you. What else did you give her?" "I just gave her the cocktail, although it was 6,000 milligrams of GABA and 2,000 milligrams of magnesium," he finished. I was struck with a sick feeling in my gut. Holy shit! 6,000 milligrams? Are you mad? Wait, that's rhetorical. And 2 grams of mag? Yeah, it took 2 of them to get her to slur I do. You sick fuck. That girl will be shitting her brains out in 3 hours, and what the hell are you going to do when it wears off? I asked, already knowing the answer. "I'm going to give her more, and besides, we'll be in Mexico by then," he replied as if we had the same plan. It was always the same with him. If there was any trouble, off to Mexico. I knew what he had been on now. Only growth hormone and pure testosterone made him so crazy. He must have found an anti-aging clinic in town and raided their storeroom. Mexico, Christ. He knew better. No colon therapist in the world would go to Mexico. I'd have to get some soy into him, and quick. I'd play along and buy some time, then slip away, get a shitload of Remy Feminine silk. I'd pound so much of that shit into him he'd grow a uterus. Mexico, I said now with my plan firmly in mind. Mexico. I like it. Fuck this whole gig. Let's go to Mexico. Wait, I'll need a girl for the road. I'll just hit the strip and pick up some hooker. We'll slip her the cocktail and we'll hit the road. I finished and searched Ernesto's eyes for doubt. Fucking A, baby. Hey, we'll go with you. He was crazy, but he wasn't that crazy. I agreed to just get out of the hotel and get on the main strip. Then I'd get them in the car, go to Whole Foods, leave his ass in the parking lot. I'd be in a cabin on the plane before he could say organic greens. Chapter 4. No Rest for the Wicked. The desert is a strange and ironic place to build a city of sin. It's as if Sodom, swallowed up by the desert from the wrath of God, has sprung up here on the other side of the world. A large boil in the face of the planet filled with the pus of cheap lobster and broken dreams. Really, there are 2 Las Vegases. One that is lit up so bright that it can be seen from space, and the other that is dark as night. We were now headed to that one, and rightfully so, for that city was the only place for people like us. Bad people that had committed unspeakable acts in several hotels in the past 24 hours. The only place safe for us now was the other Vegas. It was like the table at a Denny's, the top bright and smooth and clear of even the least bit of dust, smelling clean from a fresh wipe down with a bleached, soaked rag. But you let your hands stray from the top and venture under the thin and frail veil, and you will discover a world of germs, old gum, and decomposing boogers that make up its rocky and unforgiving terrain. I was now one of those boogers, riding in a hybrid car with a man so fucked up on legal supplements that would make a good case for taking all vitamins off the market, and his captive, curled into a fetal position in the back seat, a woman lost to the real world, riding a wave of fear and brain peptides, dressed like a 60s whore and babbling about pink horses and tampons. Not to put too fine a point on it, but she was doomed. We all were now. The list of crimes was too long to speak of, and not just limited to small things like the theft of hotel property, vandalism, and using fake IDs, but also kidnapping and bigamy, at least on Ernesto's part. He was married to a poor, deranged girl named Iffy back in L.A. Perhaps this is how they hooked up. Who knew? I only knew I had to get control of this shit, and quick. My new plan was to get to the store and buy a ton of soy and GABA, dump it into a shake and make him drink it. It would bring him down like a dancing unicorn, and then he would see the folly of his ways. We dropped the girl off at a bus stop with a $50 bill glued to her head and a handmade sign that read, "Call me a cab and get me to the hospital. I've been drugged by Cuban radicals." Then we would go back to LA, check into a large suite of whatever was left of the advance money, and I would write a pile of bullshit about the convention using the info from the Craft Food Consumers website. It was perfect. What could go wrong? It was 7:15 p.m. when I pulled into the parking lot of Whole Foods. My head was throbbing and my mouth was as dry as this desert. "Hand me a bottle of water," I barked at Ernesto, and I downed the last 5 ounces of Smart Water. "Wait right here," I said as I got out of the car. "Enjoy the ride," Ernesto said softly. I had no idea what the fuck he was talking about. "Yeah," I quipped as I slammed the door. Once inside, I made a beeline for the whole body department and started filling up my cart with soy isoflavins, bottles of GABA. The girl that worked in the department asked me if she could help me. "Yes," I said. "I need another cart. I've got to stock up." "Wow," she replied. "You okay? You look a little pale." What the hell was she talking about? I was fine. "Yes, but my wife is in menopause and she's out of control. She must be stopped and I'm going to fucking stop her. She thinks she's going to take me down to Mexico with the hostage tramp queen of the junk food kingdom? Fuck no! Fuck no!" I was screaming now and starting to sweat. My head was spinning and I was having trouble understanding what I was saying, or perhaps I was saying things I could not understand. I could see the girl now on the phone calling for help to the area, and I started to feel myself slipping away. I recalled what Ernesto said when I left the car. "Enjoy the ride." And then it hit me. That was not water I drank. It was a cocktail called The Ride, a mixture of rufinol, peyote, B12, and taurine that would make a man into a stumbling, screeching beast inside 5 minutes. He had committed the uber sin of the health food world. He had crossed the line, mixing natural and chemical worlds, and the aborted bastard fetus that sprung forth from this festering womb was racing through my bloodstream at a breakneck speed. That combination of lack of blood sugar and 2 days of nonstop bullshit had hit me like a freight train in aisle 7 of the health food store. I could feel someone's hand on me now, pulling me backwards out the door. "The doomed are laughing! They're laughing at me!" I was crying now, unable to regain control. That fucking bastard had slipped me the ride and I was in the front row. I couldn't even keep my rage in a straight line at Ernesto. One minute I hated him, the next minute I was in love with him. He was Dr. Frankenstein and I was his monster. In the distance I could hear the real trouble, police sirens, as I was flopped into the back seat of the car, next to Ernesto's blushing bride. I saw something else, a vision perhaps, or a nightmare. A monk in a gold robe and shaved head holding a crystal pendant over my head and mumbling something about the universal power of omnipresence, asking the spirit guide to watch over me as I traveled through the unseen world to find my way back, and then I was lost. You've been listening to Cramped and Bloating in Las Vegas. The story continues and concludes in part 3.